to The Gaming Boy, the show that focuses on gaming of the portable variety. This month we're celebrating Pokemon's 20th anniversary, so we will be looking at one of the most popular and well-known games of the franchise, Pokemon Yellow, for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So, even though the game was released nearly 20 years ago, we're going to see if it's good, bad, or just nostalgia. The game was released in North America on September 12, 1998, a year after Blue and Red had been released in North America. It was designed to follow the cartoon that was on at the same time, even going as far as to add a new mechanic to the game, so that a Pikachu would follow you around, just like Ash in the cartoon. The story in Pokemon Yellow was pretty much the same as Red and Blue, with only minor differences here and there, as well as a massive graphical improvement. Well, at least by Game Boy standards anyway. They also added in the main antagonists from the cartoon series, Jessie and James, who were part of Team Rocket in the cartoon, so it was an easy fit for the game. So, first things first, let's look at the art on the cartridge. Number 1, the cartridge art. Now, this cartridge is unique because it's completely yellow, and just like Pokemon Red and Blue, it's the same colour as the title of the game. This wasn't something new though, as even the NES had different coloured cartridges, but it is a cool little thing that they didn't have to do but did anyway. Again, just like Pokemon Red and Blue, you have a Pokemon on the cartridge, and it's probably now one of the most recognised Pokemon ever. Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu! Now, this is some clever marketing. The game, as I said earlier, was designed to follow the cartoon series that was running at the time, and for anyone out there who doesn't know, Ash in the series was always and still is today accompanied by his trusty Pikachu. So any kid who'd seen the cartoon would know who Pikachu was. So just imagine if they see a game with Pikachu on the cover. And there you go, the game sold itself. And lastly, the art itself is beautiful. It's hand-drawn with watercolours that today you don't see very much, and being much older now I can appreciate it even more so. In fact, the drawings for Gen 1 and Gen 2 of Pokemon are all really beautiful, and I recommend looking up a few just to appreciate them. So, for its clever marketing, funky yellow cartridge, and beautiful art, the cartridge art gets 5 out of 5. Number 2, the game. We're going to assume that this is the first time we're playing Pokemon ever, so we don't know anything. That way I can't refer to Pokemon Blue and Red as scapegoats. So you pop the game in and boot it up. You're welcomed by the usual developers and... Oh, whoa, wait. We get an animated opening? Oh, this is awesome. You get about a 30-second clip of Pikachu doing different activities while he runs towards you. But the activities are a bit strange. Surfing? Balloon floating? Oh, whatever, it's still awesome. Pokemon Yellow Pikachu Edition. This title makes you feel like you own something rare. Something special that not many other people own. Again, great marketing. New gamer options. You're welcomed to this world by Professor Oak. He explains about the world and the creatures that live in it, and proceeds to ask you some more personal questions, including what his own grandson's name is, which nowadays kinda comes off quite worrying. When choosing your name, they give you a fun little choice of Ash as your name, and Gary is Professor Oak's grandson. Obviously, you can put your own name in, but it's a nice little connection between the game and the cartoon series. This opening is what all games should have in one way or another. And to be fair, a lot of games do, where you're introduced to the world and then you're asked your name, but for me this is one of the most memorable introductions in gaming. Once you've chosen your name, you're shrunk down to your in-game character, and then you're left to explore the world. Well, that is until you try and walk into the tall grass when you're pulled out by Professor Oak, but not before he catches Pikachu for you. You're then taken back to his lab where he explains further about your adventure and offers you a Pokemon. But it's not actually Pikachu, it's Eevee. But his grandson, aka your rival, decides he wants that one and pushes you out of the way to get it. And it's this one act that fuels you to defeat him in every time you battle, just to rub it in his face. Finally, before leaving the lab to explore the land, Oak's grandson wants a battle, and you think to yourself, yes, my chance to crush him has come. And then 9 times out of 10, you do, because he tries to be really tactical with his attacks, even though he only has 2. But you don't care, because it means you get to thrash him with Thundershock over and over and over and over again. So, before we dive into the gameplay of Pokemon, what does the game get? Well, I'm giving it 5 out of 5. The introduction is perfect, giving backstory as well as customization with choosing your name. And then within 5 minutes of actually playing the game, you get a tutorial of battling, a reason for your rival to be your rival, and a kick-ass pocket monster to accompany you. Number 3. The gameplay. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to assume that we've never played Pokemon ever before, so everything will be new. And that means everything needs to be self-explanatory. So you've got your very own little creature now, and you've been told to go off and explore the land. Once again, you enter the tall grass and... Oh my god, what is happening? Oh, it's another little creature. I guess I gotta battle it. Well, we've already had the tutorial battle, so we have a vague idea of what to do. Most of the Pokemon in this route are weak. Very rarely do you come across a Pokemon that is the same level or even greater than your Pokemon. It's well designed as a beginner route, but not so easy that there's no point in returning later to catch a Pokemon or 2. The people along this route are really helpful as well, giving you little nuggets of help along the way. Again, great design. You could just have a random text box pop up to tell you these things, but by having a person within that world telling you the information, makes it feel more real, like it's a living, breathing world. You make it to the next town and you enter a Pokemon Center for the very first time and hear that iconic music. You allow your Pokemon to heal back to full health and then continue on with your journey. This is just a personal annoyance, but I always felt that it took too long talking to Nurse Joy. Not major at all, but it was just that little bit annoying. So you're all good to go again, and oh wait, there's a man who needs his morning coffee. When I was younger, I always thought this man was ill, or something like that. Okay, so no going that way. Well, let's explore the town a bit more. The towns in Pokemon Yellow are very, very nicely laid out. Most are not overcrowded with buildings and are easy to maneuver around. Each town has a Pokemart, a Pokecenter, and most towns have a Pokemon gym, and the ones that don't usually have some significant building or person in them. The way all these towns are set up makes it feel realistic. There's the constant in every town, and then each town has its own personality. The one with the casino, the one with the ghost tower, the one with the museum, the one with the volcano. It keeps the game from becoming repetitive, and once again makes it feel like a real, living, breathing world. I know, why don't we go and get some Pokeballs and potions from the Pokemart? Hey man, I'm a Pokemon adventurer, not a delivery boy. Oh, well, I guess I don't have a choice. Now, this is one of my only real problems with Pokemon in general. It always pushes you onto its path rather than letting you fully explore the world. And to be honest, that's not all bad. It means you don't face Giovanni, the 8th gym leader, who is strong, I promise, with a level 7 Pikachu. But having to complete certain tasks before being allowed to the next area is just frustrating. Oh, I see you haven't beaten Brock yet. Well, no access for you then. We are never leaving this crime scene until you defeated Misty. Oh, I need coffee, but that doesn't get delivered till you've delivered Professor Oak's parcel. It honestly becomes frustrating, and I think it's the game's biggest letdown. I do understand why it's been done, but I just want to explore. I won't carry on with any more of the story from here, but I'll have a look at the game features in general. The battle system is probably my favourite battle system in any game ever. Simple, yet fun. You got 4 main options: fight, Pokemon, item, and run. Straight off the bat, they're all self-explanatory. Maybe except item, but more of its use than what it is. So, run means you exit battle. Pokemon allows you to change out Pokemon from your team, if you have more than one. And fight brings up 4 moves you can use in battle. The amount of different moves is amazing. They vary from being simple physical attacks, like a punch or kick, to being moves that create a psychic barrier around the Pokemon, and everything and anything in between. The amount of moves and the large varieties between each move impresses me even now. Giving Pokemon different types also allowed each person to have even more of a custom game. It made things simple. If you knew a certain type was weak to another, then you could go out of your way to get a Pokemon with a strong type. You could create teams of Pokemon that were all completely water types, or fire types, or you could have 6 Pokemon all with different typings. It allowed players to make a strategy. The only downside would be that there were quite a number of types in the original games, 15 to be exact, and considering the game was aimed at a younger audience, they could have had fewer types. Even now I get confused with what type is strong against what, so types allow for strategy, but that was maybe a bit too complicated for the younger audience. Capturing Pokemon is also fun. You want to hurt them, but not to the point where they faint. It's not so bad to begin with, where it's a Pokemon you know will reappear. But if it's a sleepy Snorlax blocking your path, or one of the legendary birds that disappears forever once they faint, then it becomes the most intense battle you'll ever have. My advice? Save just before the battle. The story in the game is simple but fun. You're the good guy. On your adventure, you discover that there is an evildoer trying to do evil. You bring it upon yourself to stop him, and you do. Usually, that would be the end of the story. But Pokemon Yellow allows you to continue with your adventure. It's almost like there's 2 stories happening at the same time. Your adventure and the story of the boy who saved Kanto. Travelling between towns feels both quick and as if it's a little adventure in itself. You get to fight trainers and capture Pokemon. It only adds up to about 10-15 minutes, but it can feel like hours. And once you acquire the bike, it goes even quicker. The conclusion. So, I've given you a lot of information there about Pokemon Yellow, both personal opinion and fact. But at the end of the day, this is a great game. The gameplay itself, I'm giving a 4.5 out of 5. The gameplay is engaging, fun, entertaining, and has a lot of replayability. The only place it falls is where it is already carved out a path in the story, which allows only limited exploring. But this is maybe what was intended for the game all along. If you've never played any of the Pokemon games of Generation 1, and you're a fan of RPGs, or even just games in general, then I highly recommend you play them. In fact, Nintendo have just released Pokemon Red, Blue and Yellow for the 3DS Virtual Console, at a fraction of the price compared to an original Game Boy copy. So, is the game good, bad, or just nostalgia? Well, it's definitely not bad. It's absolutely a great game, and it's not just nostalgia, but it definitely plays a part in why this game is still popular now. And it's definitely nostalgia for those Gen 1ers out there. Just admit Pokemon is great no matter what generation. Thank you all for watching the second episode of The Gaming Boy. I put a lot of effort and time into this episode, and I'm happy with the results. I've really enjoyed celebrating Pokemon's 20th anniversary over the last few weeks, but I've got a video or 2 still to come celebrating Pokemon. If you guys enjoyed this episode, then please hit that like button and leave a comment as well. If you missed the first episode of The Gaming Boy, Zool, Good, Bad or Just Advertisement, then you can click here to watch it. And if you want more retro goodness, then come and check out the Retro Boys channel and hit that big red subscribe button. Cheers guys, and I'll see you in the next one.